charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Blackbox Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Blackbox Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. WireB is an AI-powered call automation platform built for freight brokers, designed to screen every inbound call in real time, block spoofing, phishing, and double brokering scams, verify compliance through integrations with FMCSA, Highway, and My Carrier Portal, and automatically connect brokers with qualified, vetted carriers, all before a human ever picks up the phone. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
All right. Happy Wednesday. Unfortunately, it seems like there's a storm where Matt is. So he's trying to join here shortly. He's calling me now. I'm going to shoot him a voicemail. Maybe he'll tune in and see the stream here. Before we get started, quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Sales-CRM. It is a freight centric CRM. Blackbox uses it. We love it. Also new rollout, the Two Dawgs podcast is now on Sales-CRM for potential guest, dog of the week, all that good stuff. So shout out to Josh and team. We've got Wirebee. They are fighting fraud with AI on incoming calls. Very cool product. We had them on the podcast a couple weeks ago. If you guys are interested, go back, tune in on the library. And then we've got our banner sponsor, TAF's Top 10 Factoring Company. A great company. They do a really good job with educational content. And then we have another sponsor, but I'm not going to say too much about them because today we've got their CEO, Aaron Decker. That's Multi-Service Fuel Card. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into it. Hopefully Matt is able to join here in a little bit, but if not, the show must go on. So without further ado, Aaron Decker. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having us, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here today.
Yeah, 100%. We're glad that you made the time to be on the show. And like I said, I'm sure you heard the intro there. Matt's in a storm right now, so not sure what's going on with him. Technical difficulties. Hopefully he'll be joining us momentarily. But for those tuned in that don't know you or aren't super familiar with Multi-Service Fuel Card, let's start with you personally. Kind of give us your background before Multi-Service Fuel Card and then leading up to it, and then we'll get into Multi-Service and what you guys are doing, what you're all about.
Sure. Yeah. So, son of an Army chaplain, and grew up in a military family and kind of all over the place, 7 years in Germany, and ended up landing at Fort Riley, Kansas when I was a sophomore in high school, and ended up going to college at Kansas State University. After that, I was in the publishing business out in Los Angeles for about 12 years. The books that we published were a bunch of hunting, shooting, and fishing magazines, which was a lot of fun. And then I segued into marketing. And when we relocated to Kansas City to basically start our family and start our life back in the Midwest, I married a girl from Wichita. I started with a company called Multi-Service Corporation, and Multi-Service got its start as basically its first product that it had in 1978 was the first fuel card for trucking companies. It was started by a former over-the-road truck driver who believed there had to be a better way to pay for fuel. And that was the very first product that this company put out. And when they started with that product, they hadn't had previously in the industry the ability to do real-time transaction authorization and visibility to what was happening on the road within a closed loop payment network. And so it was really a revolutionary technology in the trucking space that really helped with fraud, and it helped with transaction insight in a real-time manner that had never been available previously. So much so that if you were in our old office building, which is just across the street from where I'm sitting here right now, we had a conference room that had a big giant mural painted on the wall that said the word magic on it. And the reason that it said magic on it is because there would be a scenario where a driver would pull up to a fuel pump at a truck stop that was within our network and start, multi-swipe, trying to commit fraud or something along those lines. Our system would pick up on it. We would call the truck stop and say, hey, call the police. There's someone committing fraud with one of our fuel cards. Police would come, and the driver would just sit there and go, how did you know? Right. And we would just say magic. And so that became a tagline for the business, and kind of, so we're the first fuel card of its kind to offer that type of insight and overview. And some people will say they've been around 50 years or 55 years or things along those lines. The way that we know for sure that we were the first is you just look at our bin range, the major industry identifier, which is the first number of any bin range, right? For fuel cards, it's 7. And so our bin range number is 700,000. If we were the second or the third or the fourth, it would be 700, 3, 4, 5, so on. So really proud of that. So I got in with Multi-Service, director of marketing. I ran marketing for the whole company, and we had it was a great spot to be in because I learned a lot of different things about a lot of different verticals within the trucking industry space. We had a CDL legal plan called Open Road Drivers Plan that protected driver CDLs and taught us about FMCSA and the importance of CSA scores and staying compliant, and providing, protection on the road so that your fleet can run. We had a tolls business in Europe that was more of an international thing, but I had a chance to learn about how that operated overseas, and that was based in the Netherlands. And so that was very interesting, multi-service tolls, and doing the market comparisons between the United States and European theater. Very fragmented toll platform and system in Europe versus the US. So that was interesting. We also did a non-recourse invoicing solution for big OEM manufacturers like Navistar and International and Great Dane. And so we had national account programs where we issued credit to mega fleets, the JB Hunts, the FedExes, the Swifts, the UPSs that had all these national account programs in the name of these private label billing and payment programs. Of course, multi-service fuel card, which was a branded solution for Multi-Service Corporation. And then ultimately they acquired a factoring business. And so I got to dip my toe in the deep end of factoring and understanding how factoring works and the importance of it in the industry and things along those lines. And then I guess, to kind of put a bow on the box, so to speak, that company was acquired by World Fuel Services in 2012. And so I got insight to other industries and how they fueled, right? So business aviation space, they have a closed payment network made up of FBOs, very similar to truck stops that operate and fuel very similar to the way that trucking industry fuels. And also got to see kind of the relationship between truck stops and fuel supply. And so that was very interesting, kind of getting insight to that, where World Fuel Services had customers that they supplied fuel for, and our card was accepted at that location, and seeing both ends of that relationship. And that continues today with our relationship with Shell Oil. So in 2017, so that was kind of like a baptism by fire as it relates to all the different touch points with the industry and kind of getting an understanding of how trucking operates and a lot of the moving parts. Not everything. I didn't get a chance to get into the brokerage side of things and certainly other areas, but certainly understood how other industries did that. But in 2017, I got promoted to a position where, more or less where I'm at today. I got P&L ownership of the fuel card division, as well as, or at the time we called the Fleet Solutions division, which was factoring, open road, driver's plan, and multi-service fuel card. And I served in that role until 2021, when the fuel card division was carved out and sold as a portfolio company to Shell Oil. And as a portfolio company, it meant we were standalone business. And so I was appointed CEO position of the company as it stands today. But we're a wholly owned subsidiary of the Shell Oil Company, which is a gigantic, as you well know, company, global business. I think they're a Fortune 5 or something along those lines. So that's kind of, so as far as leadership of the fuel card division and the fuel card business, I've been in this seat going on 8 years, and then kind of within the trucking industry in a lot of different areas going back to 2012. So definitely a fun industry when we're not dealing with the macroeconomic conditions that we are today in the last couple of years, but a lot of good, insights and fun, learning about this business and spending time in this business.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you walking me through that. And I might have lost you for a second. So that storm and just for you guys that might be tuning in late, Matt lost power due to the storm. He said, enjoy the show. I'm listening from my phone. Unfortunately, lost power from the storms, and joining from my phone with no light might not be the best. That might be strange to have you in the dark there, Matt. But I was going to say the same storm, well, probably different storm. I believe Matt's in Indiana. I'm down in Birmingham, but it started storming terribly bad about 10 minutes in, and I lost you for a second. I guess things were up on your end. but our power in the office went out. My screen went black, but I guess the stream kept going. So hopefully it holds out for us. But getting back to kind of your story, one thing that I picked up on, which I related to, which it's different but similar, right? So I got into freight brokerage, and I ended up learning about all these different industries and companies that it touches. And it sounds like you've had a similar experience with multi-service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it broadens the base of knowledge that you have to be able to draw on and get understanding of how different areas of the industry operate and work. And, being a fuel card provider, we really have, multiple personas that we look at as it relates to our customers, right? And so I think that that's helped us and helped me certainly kind of understand the view and what's important to that end user, right? I mean, we have obviously the driver. We kind of start with the driver, right? That's our number one customer. That's the guy that's on the road that pulls the card out of the wallet, that relies on it to be dependable and to work, and the credit's going to be there, and they're able to keep things running. But then there's also the guy that pays the bill, right? And that's the fleet owner. And, it's important, and he has a different set of value propositions that, he's interested in. And then we have the truck stop, right? And I think sometimes that gets overlooked, that the merchant partners are so very important, that, and the relationship with them, that the card works, and that, if they've put a savings, event or a discount on the card, that we're able to facilitate that and have it operate the way that it should, and all the reporting and things along those lines. So it's definitely opened up my eyes on just all the moving parts associated with the trucking industry. And certainly there's some gaps. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you that on the brokerage side, I understand how it works, but I've never had a chance to sit in the seat and really do the job, right? Or market for the job. So but I know that it's a fast-paced and very important aspect of this business.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate how you laid that out. It's something I've noticed among high performers in whatever industry it might be, specifically just sales. It's understanding your customers and their business, because oftentimes it might be, or at least in my experience, if somebody's trying to sell me something, they might understand their product, A to Z, fantastic, but they don't understand my business or what's valuable to me. So why they might have, that this product doesn't solve anything that I need, right? And the way that you're describing the different parties, and I believe you used the phrase value proper, what's valuable to him, it's not going to be the same. It depends on who you're speaking to, and kind of tailoring that. It seems like multi-service, correct me if I misspeak here, 1978. Correct.
Yeah.
You guys have been around long enough to know what these guys need and what they value.
Yeah, you're 100% right. We use the term customer intimate, and we want to make sure that we're paying attention and we're listening to our customers, right? Truck drivers and trucking companies are not going to be bashful about telling you what they want. And if we're not listening, right, and we don't have our ears on, and we're not understanding, what's important to them, what's important to their business, then we're not doing our job, right? And so we preach that throughout every touch point within this business, that whether you are in sales, right, we want to, the question that we want to ask is, how's business going? Where do you run? Where do you like to fuel? What's important to your business? Things along those lines. And then when that segues onto onboarding a customer, right, we want to make sure that everything's set up the right way, and that all the implementation, parts of the process get done seamlessly, and we treat every customer with a like love approach. And then account management, the check-ins. Hey, we know that you're busy. Tell us about how frequently you want to check in. We want to work on your schedule. If there's ever anything that you need, feel free to holler. We really work hard. And then of course, oh boy, I almost stepped in it right there, because I know for a fact that Linda Anderson, who's the best customer support director in the industry, if she heard this podcast and I didn't bring up customer service, she would string me up. But I call them our secret weapon, right? Because they answer the phone in less than 25 seconds, and they do everything. Such a great job in taking care of our customers. But so every touch point, right? So important that we're intimate with our customers, and that's also not just the human part of it too, right? It's the technology and the tools that we're creating and have created for our customers that reduces the friction in the payment process, right? It's important that we wake up every day and look at, the job that they're doing, and we say, how can we make that easier for them today, right? And that's really the drum that we march to as it relates to, dealing with this ever-evolving business and making sure that we keep the driver, the fleet owner, the merchant at the forefront of every decision that we make.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's a few points that I kind of want to unpack there, trying to think of which one I want to start with. We'll start with customer intimate. I love that. Frankly, what I think is overused and cheesy is things along the lines of customer centric or like customer first, customer forward. Pretty much any and all businesses they're going to say that's important, right? But customer intimate is a new spin on that. Kind of makes you, wonder, thinking in the way that you go into describing it. It makes sense. So I think that's very neat. I think it's a good separator. It's not a tagline that I've ever heard of before. And then when you're talking about answering the phones, and I believe you said you gave a time on it. What was
less than 25 seconds?
Okay,
and that's actual total like soup to nuts hold time. So we've answered, you've gone through the prompts, you've hit the button on what you want to do, and then if you hit I want to talk to a person, it's almost instantaneous.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that sometimes it's a lost art is these customer service level agreements, or how do you service your customers? And at least speaking, because I'm a freight brokerage owner, so I see everything through a freight broker lens, right? But for us, it's a new KPI that we're developing is response time. Everybody, not every, I keep speaking in absolutes. A lot of freight brokerages or companies want to track things like outbound calls or emails, packet sent. But what actually moves the needle, or what do we claim to value and beyond that claim? So the reason I like the customer intimate, and then you go on to explain it so much. Well, one, like I said, I just think it's cool. Customer intimate, never heard it before. But then two, you have data to back that up. 25 seconds or less or whatnot. So for us, it's service is a big part, right? But then how do we measure that service? What KPIs do we really have beyond we take good care of our customers, but can we stand on, like all emails get replied to and by 7 minutes, nothing past that, and have that actual data to back it up? Because a goal without a plan or anything to track, you can't measure it. You can't manage what you can't measure. So I really appreciate that. And we had your people on the podcast with Jamie Anderson, who's a big multi-service fuel supporter. And if anybody listening is familiar with him, to my knowledge, he was involved in a wreck. It's pretty rough. There's a GoFundMe set up. We'll drop a link to that in the comments when we repost the episode. But I bring him up because he reiterated everything that you said, right? And he's not sponsoring anything by Multi-Service Fuel Card. He loves you guys, and he came on the show with them and just kept talking about. He's going on and on about all these good things, and it's echoing what you're saying. So it's cool to see it in practice from a customer, as opposed to how it is. That somebody company is going to say they do this and that. Nobody's going to come on and say we do a shitty job. But for you to say it, back it up with these KPI stats, data, and then we have had past people on the show that are saying the same thing is, it's good. It's refreshing.
Thank you for bringing up Jamie. I meant to do that at the top of the show. He has been absolutely fantastic, not just from an advocacy standpoint of, preaching about what we're about, but he's really helped us. When we do anything from a product development standpoint, we go through a pretty thorough voice of customer process where we want to vet what our thesis is against the industry and different personas within the industry, to try and find out, right, are we down the right track? And he's been great about helping us set that out and to go through some of those processes on things that we're we have developed and continue to develop. And I heard about the accident that him and his wife were in. Completely appreciate getting the GoFundMe link out there for him, as well as just Jamie, you're in our thoughts and prayers, you and your wife, and we're thinking of you. And I talked to Jessica today, and it sounds like everybody's gonna recover, and he's gonna be okay. But just glad to hear that, and just let him know that we're thinking of him.
Yeah, I'm actually got it pulled up right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in the show comments, and then we repost the episode. It'll be there as well. So yes, I don't know Jamie extremely well, but again, we've had him on the podcast a couple of times. And one thing I really appreciate about him is that he's gonna call it how it is, or he's gonna say, what he thinks about it. He's not going to sugarcoat it, or no matter who he's talking to, he's going to be the same guy with the same stance and believe the same things. And that seems to be rarer and rarer these days, that people kind of sugarcoat things or whatnot. So, I mean, for anybody with a product or running a company, or beyond, I mean, just living in general, it's always good to have people like that around you that you can bounce ideas off of. Because I mean, really and truly, I think that any human being in this world can look around and they can probably find 3 to 5 people that they know are going to tell them what they want to hear. So I'm going to use my company because, again, I don't know everything about multi-service fuel card, but if I have this new idea plan that I want to roll out at Black Box, I mean, yeah, I've got 5 guys I can go pull them off. So like, hey, what do you think about this? And no matter what the idea is, they're going to be like, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. You're so smart. And then I've got another 5 that are going to shoot me straight and tell me when it's an awful idea or it doesn't make sense. And Jamie's one of those people. So when I describe him as good people, that's what I appreciate about him is he's just so solid and genuine. And he's a great follow here on LinkedIn for anybody tuned in. If you want to learn more about the trucker side of it, he's very transparent, what he's got going on, where he is. Yeah, he's one of the good ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I do want to kind of segue into your experience with a hotter topic these days, fraud. So we talked a little bit about it with the magic and all that good stuff. But I want to ask how you guys have seen it evolve from a macro level. And I don't want to go too terribly far back, because like 1978, the frauds and scams to today are vastly different. But if there's any trends that you have noticed, maybe anything that people can be on the lookout for, I mean, really whatever comes to mind. I'm sure that there's some exposure to it being a provider.
Yeah. It used to be something that it was a nuisance, right? Mm-hmm. Being a closed loop fuel card, you have the ability to equip your platform and accounts with different prompts that can help negate fraud and stop it in its tracks, depending on how many prompts you want to set up. But with anything, right, the fraud tools are only as good as people are willing to use them. Mm-hmm. And so, we had some customers that were rolling without even having a PIN number equipped. And so, when fuel prices spiked after the Russian-Ukrainian conflict started, we saw, obviously fraud kind of go through the roof, and everybody in the industry was dealing with it. And I had never seen fraud as bad as it had been, during that period of time. But what I would say about that is whether you were on the truck stop side of things or on the billing card provider side of things, there was a tremendous response to combating it. And so we certainly, got involved with it, not only through, proactive communication with our customers and giving them the tools to be able to fight fraud, but also communication with our merchant partners and our truck stop partners. And, how can we work together to combat this? And then joining different associations that like our head of risk goes to this, and the name escapes me off the top of my head right now, but attends a conference 2 or 3 times a year that's basically all the different billing card providers and truck stops, and they're there to assess and learn, about what's the latest in fraud technology. A lot of companies, including ourselves, invested in algorithms to look for, things like frequency of transactions. So if they're happening in multiple increments on the same card, too close together, right, there's an alert that gets prompted. Or if we see something that happens that's a geographical limitation where, a card is used in Florida and then a half hour later it's used in California, right, we know something's up. But probably the thing that I'm most proud about with our fraud defense is, never mind the pure monetary part of it, where we went. I think we had a 40% or 45% year-over-year reduction in fraud, which I was really proud of. But we put together in our mobile application a one-time PIN functionality, which basically stops fraud in its tracks, skimming fraud. And so when we look at everything that we've done, not only on our side of the fence, but then also working with our truck stop and our merchant partners, collectively, I think the industry has really responded to this and done a great job of combating it as best they can. And I know the numbers are down as it relates to skimming fraud, but we just wait. Like, okay, so what is going to be the next thing, right, that we're going to see that's going to be running rampant in this industry? Because the fraudsters are always going to try and stay 2 and 3 steps ahead of the technology that you're rolling out. But I feel pretty good about our spot right now between the back office algorithms that track all of our transaction data, and it's kind of like the Overwatch, right, on our book of business, and then the hypersensitivity of having a one-time PIN associated with the mobile application, and then never mind all the different prompts that we can set up with the closed loop payment network that really help us combat it. So it's a good question, and I feel like the industry has responded in helping create tools and processes that slow fraud down. And I know for sure it in the last year or so it's come down a lot.
Yeah. So for our audience that's tuned in, can you walk us through, when you mentioned skimming fraud, what does it look like? How does it work? Just a base level, nuts and bolts skim fraud.
Yeah, I won't know the names of the tools the skimmers use, but essentially at a very high level, 30,000 foot view, a fraudster will go to a truck stop point of sale, like where you actually physically stick the card into the fuel pump, right? They will pop off the face of that. They will implant a skimming device that basically will read the mag strip of a fuel card that gets inserted into the pump, right? And they've gotten so slick with the way that they can pop that face off, put that skimming device into the fuel pump, cover it back up, make it look seamless. And if you don't have a PIN, right, then as soon as they have that mag stripe, they can go hog wild and start fueling up to the level that you might have purchase control set, etc. If they don't have the PIN, right, then they're going to have a recording device that sits up above the keypad, and they'll be able to record the PIN that gets added that's associated with the mag stripe on that fuel card. Now, you could have things in place like mileage. You could have a hub, pool, unit pool. There's all these different prompts that you could add in there. What one-time PIN does is it gives a one-time PIN for that fuel transaction. So even if the card gets skimmed, the next time that you go to use that card, right, there's another PIN that gets generated for that transaction. So even if they recorded the transaction with the camera that looks down on that, they're not going to have visibility to what that is at the next transaction on the truck stop on down the road. So really, that at a high level is how they do that. And then with the advent of mobile payments and things along those lines, sometimes those card numbers will get uploaded into a mobile application, and that's when you can see it just go like a firestorm. And usually what will end up happening is you'll get to the end of a billing cycle. If an algorithm didn't pick it up or something along those lines, if an alert wasn't created and then the bill doesn't get paid, or the fleet owner sees it and he goes, what is all this chaos on my fuel bill? It's crazy. And then it's too late, they're gone. But that at a high level is how that works. And for everybody at home, right, cover your PIN as best you can. And I don't care where you're at. If you're at a gas station, if you're at Walmart, if you're at an ATM, doesn't matter, right? That's probably one of the best things you can do to defeat fraud when you're using your personal debit card.
Yeah, I was going to say, so, I mean, we're talking about the use case of fuel cards, but anybody at home, your credit, debit card, all that good stuff. I mean, this can be relevant to you as well. It doesn't have to be skimming a fuel card. They can skim
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So counterintuitively, in my opinion, and a large portion of the audience may disagree with this, but being a podcast host, this is one of the few topics very counterintuitively, very, very, very counterintuitively, that feels pretty good, pretty uniting. Because like you said, the industry has come together pretty well on it. And it's one of those things that everybody stands together on, except the fraudsters. Usually, whatever the issue may be, oftentimes it feels like it might be one party against the other, whether it be drivers, truckers, shippers, where people might be at odds. But this is one of those very few topics that everybody's in agreement on. And it has been very cool to see companies cooperate, and it's not zero sum. Zero sum meaning that simply because if one company does something to better defend us from fraud, you'll benefit from it as well, right? So it's one of those things where the pie can get very big, and it's not really about taking market space, but it's just good for everybody to come together like that. So that's why we're really proud to be partnered with some companies that are making a stance on this and taking it seriously. Like I mentioned, Wirebee, that's their main use case is fraud prevention from phone calls. So yeah, it feels bad to say that it's a uniting topic, but it is. As a podcast host, it's one of those things whenever we have somebody on, whether it be multiple guests, everybody is in agreement on, and it's very rare that there's a topic where everybody stands together.
Yep, absolutely. It's when you can be frenemies, right? Where you're going to work together to kind of stop this in its tracks, because at the end of the day, it's theft. It impacts everybody, and the quicker that we can kind of get our arms wrapped around it and find ways to defeat it and stay in front of it more than anything, the better the industry is.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing that I think that people often don't think about or imagine. So we talk about this technology, right? That lots of companies are adopting technology to fight and prevent fraud. Well, simultaneously, a lot of the fraudsters are adopting technology to conduct fraud. So it's almost, I don't want to call it an arms race, because I don't think it is, but it definitely is something to be mindful of. That while our technology is improving and we're getting better at fighting fraud evolves, it adapts. I know there's a lot of companies out there that that's their product, right? Preventing fraud, and they'll be very careful about talking about how they prevent the fraud, because if and when we talk about the fraud, then they're learning what are they looking for. So it's one of those things that unfortunately it affects us all, whether directly or indirectly, and we all need to stay on our toes and work together, keep open dialogues about what we're seeing out there.
You're absolutely right. And the other thing that we'll see, kind of in the fuel card space is, there's check products that are out there, right? Mm-hmm. So, our product is called the InstaMoney. And, you can use that to pay for emergency repairs or, lumpers or things along those lines. And there's obviously com checks, and, the industry has all these different, names for these check products, but those things are recipes for fraud. And we've certainly had check fraud in the past. And another thing that I'm really excited about is here by the end of this month on our mobile application, we'll have the ability to do mobile app to mobile app payments that eliminates the need for checking products. We'll still have them, obviously, but we're really excited about getting into the mobile payment space as it relates to sending money from fleet owner to driver. It's been a big need that we've had for a long time. And it's exciting to, again, think about how do we add more value, right, for our customer and add, things that are going to reduce friction in the payments process and eliminate a hassle, process like an antique checking, application. So we're excited about that as well. But it ties right in with the fraud conversation, because those checks, if every step is followed the way that it should be followed as it relates to authorizing, and the bank does its job, and we do our job, right, it can be virtually bulletproof, right, as it relates to fraud. But if there's a breakdown in any one of those processes, right, it can run rampant. And so we're excited to be able to introduce technology that's going to allow us to kind of move away from the paper product and do things from app to app, which everybody's accustomed to these days, right? Whether you're dealing with Venmo or PayPal in your private world, and now we'll have a B2B application for that through our mobile application.
Yeah, that is huge. And again, I'm not a truck driver or a fleet owner, but I mean, even some of our carriers, it'll be maybe we'll need to wire them some money, and they're asking us if we'll Zelle it. So
Yeah.
it's everybody loves to be able to do things on their phone, and that's actually, which I'm going to go on a tangent here. That's it's crazy, right? Sitting here, 2025, multi-service fuel card. Again, if I misspeak, correct me. 1978.
1978. Yeah.
1978. What do you think? So it was an over-the-road truck driver who started it. Imagine how it started to now. I mean, the technology, how far it's come, and how far. I mean, just how quickly it changes, right? I mean, I'm sure that the company is. I mean, maybe similar, very similar, but today versus 1978, how much different it looks, and you guys are still. I mean, doing new things, right? Being in business that long, which it speaks to the longevity of the business and likely why you're able to stay around this long, continue growing and doing well. But yeah, I mean, it's just nuts thinking about 1978 versus 2025. How much has changed?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about 78, right, you're dealing with carbon copy, knuckle buster, put the card down and grab the embossed print, right, of the card, and then mailing that in to get reimbursed, right? And that's what oil card companies were doing, and some open loop card companies that weren't a part of that network. And so when we introduce the ability to have real-time transaction authorization and bypass that whole knuckle busting carbon copy process of payment, right, it was pretty cool technology. But what I would say is that in the trucking industry, we're only going to run as fast as our customers are willing to let us, right? And it's not like this with every every fleet and every fleet driver, but you still have some drivers that are hanging on to the past with regards to technology and well, I can't use the one-time PIN because I got a flip phone, right? And so there's things that you run in on that front. But I challenge my team, right? We want to move as fast as we possibly can to create more value for our customers and reduce friction in the payments process. And we've got some really cool things coming down the pipeline that I fundamentally believe will change, will attempt to change or disrupt is probably the term, the way people pay for fuel. And I'm excited about that. And so, when we look at, our book of business and how things have always done, when Shell acquired us in 2021 and we were able to kind of move away from the mindset of being a division of an enterprise company that didn't really want to be a part of a branded product like a fuel card anymore to a company like Shell, which has tremendous resources and such massive scale globally. It really kind of gave us the permission to be able to say, there's no idea too big or too small, right? Let's run as fast as we can towards, creating new revolutionary technology that's going to delight all three of our customers: the fleet owner, the truck driver, the merchant partner. And so that's what we've been doing. And day in and day out, that's what we show up to work, is to figure out how to do more of that and how to do it bigger, faster, better.
Yeah. What I think is powerful in all that, you mentioned only running as fast as your customers will let you, which is a great point. It's something that I didn't even think about this whole podcast. Is you're dealing with a wide range, like a wide range group with different opinions how they do things. So some people might have a flip phone, right? And like that guy probably isn't too bullish on the technology. When you start talking about, he probably doesn't care. He probably thinks it's a little silly. So it's almost. I just read a book. It's called the Challenger Sale, and it talks a little bit about this concept, right, of the customer conversation and almost becoming a teacher, right, to get them to see the value in it, what they do need. I'm sure it's a large task probably with your customer group, and trying to deploy some of this technology and protect them, but at the same time, keep them around. Don't push them too hard. Yeah, and I think that's art industry maybe as a whole, maybe brokerages are a little bit quicker to adopt some of the technology because they're at computers all day. But the carriers, it does seem, are a little bit more hesitant with some of the technology stuff.
Eventually it's going to cycle through, right? And when you talk about an aging driver force, and there's constant recruitment, on the front end of that. Eventually it'll cycle through, and you'll reach a demographic where technology is all that they do. And we know that day is coming. But part of our job of being customer intimate is just meeting the fleets at the level that they want to be met at, and provide the tools, make everything available. But at the end of the day, if someone wants to swipe their card, great. Right. We want it to work. We want them to have the features that they want to have enabled, and be able to get the reporting that they need. And if they need support, we answer the phone quickly, and we understand right away who it is and what might be going on. But if they also want to use the mobile application to do their route planning with predictive stops and real-time insight to fuel prices that get updated 4 times a day, and or the most recent transaction, and it's pricing that's exclusive to their fleet, with all the amenities and a feedback loop. I mean, we want to be able to provide on both ends, knowing full well that eventually, right, it's all going to cycle towards, what kind of innovation are you bringing that's going to create that differentiation, right? There's a lot of companies that have mobile applications out there. There's a lot of fuel card providers that are out there that are providing cool fintech solutions, and you look at the different platforms and things along those lines, and we certainly are among them. But at the end of the day, I think with a trucking company, it's like, do they answer the phone? When they answer the phone, do they act like they care, and about your business? Does the card and the product work, and is it going to work at all the locations that I need it to work at? Right. And because in the trucking industry, you never know, right, where you're going to be operating. And as you go about, running a trucking company, it can take you to all parts unknown. And so that's another thing that I feel strongly about, is that we've fully developed a closed loop payment network. It's not 2,000 locations. It's closer to 9,000. And but yeah, I mean, it's just really understanding all those components, and that's what we strive to do every day.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys do a very good job at keeping the main thing, customer service, customer intimate, right? And then adapting or evolving rather where you can to further benefit the customer. But end of the day, the main thing, which is customer intimacy.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that's very powerful. It's very cool. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. I've learned a lot that I didn't previously know about multi-service fuel card, and we've had you guys on a couple of times. So I've really enjoyed the conversation. Before we wrap up, is there anything that people should be on the lookout for? I know you mentioned some possible new exciting releases. I don't know if you're able to bring those up, or if you want to kind of keep it under wraps, or any final words or anything like that.
Yeah. So, I mentioned the real-time payments piece where we're going to be able to send money from mobile app to mobile application. And we're excited about that. And that'll be live, I want to say, within the next 2 weeks. And then, we have some other innovative items that I can't speak about at this point in time, but getting worked on every day. And just, I guess what I would like people to know more than anything is we've been around the block and we understand this business and we understand this industry. And if you're looking for something different, right? If you're looking for something where the person on the other line is actually going to care about your company and make sure that you're successful, and we use data that we get to help you be successful, give us a call. And I don't want this to be one big giant, commercial for multi-service fuel card or anything along those lines. But we understand right now in this industry, it's a tough road for a lot of trucking companies, right? I sat in on the ATA Q2 economic forecast with Bob Costello, and I guess it was the recap, but also a little bit of a forecast. And there's still a capacity, issue, and things are running tight for a lot of companies. And we can appreciate that. And we completely understand that. And we talk to our customers every day about that very fact and helping them figure out, okay, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to make, this business another month, right? How am I going to get another mile out of this truck? And do the things that's important to me and not just me, but, my livelihood and my family that depend on this. So that's what I want to leave you with, is that we're here, for the trucking industry, and we'll talk to anybody about, their business and what they're going through, and find out if there's a way that we could help them and put together a program that's going to work well for them.
Awesome. Well, yeah, don't tell me that you care. Show me you care, and you guys put your feet where your mouth is. So where should people find you guys if they want to get in touch, if they want to have that conversation? Website, email, LinkedIn? Where's the best one to go?
Just go to multiservicefuelcard.com, and that's the URL, and that will give you everything you need to know: email, phone number, contact info, all that fun stuff. But yeah, multiservicefuelcard.com. Awesome.
Well, Aaron, again, appreciate you very much for coming on the show. You've been
thank you. This is fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime.
All right. Perfect.
All right.
Thanks you very much.
See you. All right. And that'll do it for this week's episode. Hopefully next week, Matt will be back with us again. He was experiencing some technical difficulties due to a storm. Before we go, final shout out to our sponsors. We've got Wirebee. They are fighting fraud with AI inbound call systems. Very cool company doing some innovative stuff. Had them on the podcast a couple weeks ago. You guys should go give that one a listen. We got Sales Dash CRM, Freight Centric CRM, Blackbox. My company uses it. We absolutely love it. And we've got Multi-Service Fuel Card, which we just had Aaron on. Fantastic company. I'm not going to say anything else about them because you guys just heard about them for an hour. But again, go check them out, their website. And then we've got our banner sponsor, TAFS, Top 10 Factoring Company out of Missouri. Great people over there. They really care about the carriers as well. They've got great educational content on their website. If you guys are looking to explore or just want to learn some more, go to their website, check them out. Well, that'll do it for this week. We'll be back at it next week. We've got a Monday episode. We're going to have Jen Logs on. So really looking forward to that one. We'll have Dog of the Week out on Friday. And thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.